Hello and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. But I'm backtracking. I'm going back to the Spanish Armada again. It's truly an event that has repercussions, large repercussions, a major turning point in time. And so consequently, there's branches going out that resonate with me. One of the things in this book was that thing about the Philip II of Spain gaining control of Portugal, and in doing so, gaining control of those trading posts, let's call them, scattered across half the globe, especially almost halfway around the world from England into Japan. And it reminded me of the Portuguese in Japan, because once upon a time I read a wonderful adventure story called The Samurai and the Long-Nosed Devils. Now the samurai there were two samurai particularly involved in the story, and they were Romans. They traveled, made their talents available to various feudal lords, maybe worked there for a while, then moved on, which was going to be perfect because Lindsay Namioka wrote a number of books about them so she could place them in different settings. Pretty clever. The long-nosed devils were the Portuguese, who had advanced military weapons, and they were not favorably, their presence wasn't hurrah, but rather thumbs down almost. So that story I enjoyed so much that after that I was at a library book sale and found this book. I recognized the author, Den of the White Fox. So for 50 cents I got it. Now my wife started reading these to our two oldest sons, and they were enjoying them, and she was enjoying them. Mysteries. Village of the Vampire Cat. The White Serpent Castle. The Valley of the Broken Cherry Trees. The Island of Ogres. I've been thinking about islands and of course trees, and both those titles had crossed my mind. You know, if I was going to do some videos on islands, that would maybe be a book that should be included in that. Japan is actually many islands, from tiny to big. So I think we tend to cluster it as one island, but that's not the case. Library book sale, a different one. The Coming of the Bear. So those books, I think, probably boys would like them more than girls. The Boy and the Samurai. This is by Eric Huggard, and he wrote a sequel. I have it both in paperback and hardcover. Same book in terms of the story, The Samurai Tale. I enjoyed them both, and I got all three of those at the library book sale. So this is a plug for library book sales. Now, this was all going on in the 1500s. The Spanish Armada, toward the end of the 1500s. This is a little bit before that time, but interesting to look at different cultures and see how they approach governing themselves, setting things up, and working. It got to the point, though, with foreign using ports that Japan said, no more. We're closing it down. And it went both ways. We're not letting the Japanese out. We're not letting anybody else in. And that all changed when Commodore Perry came and forced the openings with the Japanese. Now that was 1853. So what's that? Probably 400 years after this. 300 years. Let's get that right, Larry. 300 years after that. Maybe 275 years after the Armada. A starting point explaining what led up to that and what was the outcome of that. Now, the story about Commodore Perry attracted a person who wrote biographies, and her name is Rhonda Bloomberg, and she wrote a biography about Perry, and in doing so, she heard about an interesting story that happened in Japan, and she pursued it. She went off, and one thing led to another. And it's a story about, a true story, about a young Japanese boy and how one thing leads to another thing, and another thing, and another thing, and another thing. I guess that's no different than most people's life, except that these transitions for him were really quite huge and somewhat inexplicable almost. I won't tell you more about the book. It's not a long book. You can read it in an hour or less, but it's well researched, and it was an eye-opener. I liked it a lot. Well, thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye for now.